Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Village of Gurnee Planning and Zoning Board for this Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. Can we have a roll call, please?
Blair.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Nordentoff.
Here.
Paff.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Sula.
Here, present. We're all here. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, the first item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment, and this is an opportunity to speak about things that are on the agenda but not the public hearing because we have special procedures for the public hearing. So, unless you have a question about the minutes. All right, so I'm going to close the floor to the public. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our meeting that was held back on July 15th. Does anyone have any changes or questions or comments? If not, a motion to approve as submitted would be in order.
Motion to approve?
Mr. Paff?
Second.
Second by Mr. Campbell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, a continued public hearing for the property located at 35400 Green Bay Road.
Yep, I'll take it from here.
Okay.
So this item was, this is a continuation of an agenda item from our July 15th, 2026 meeting. Just to recap, Car Wash Pro Designers is requesting a zoning map amendment to rezone 2.47 acres of unincorporated Lake County from R1 designation residential to the Village of Gurnee's zoning designation C2 Community Commercial District. Additionally, they are requesting a special use permit for the development of a car wash. Some of the changes since they were last in this room: first, they added a 4-foot berm to the western lot line of the property. In addition, they added an 8-foot fence. The 8-foot fence can be seen in red on, sorry, going the wrong way. There we go. Can be seen in red on this plan. There is also a rendering that we'll get to a little bit later, a video rendering where you'll be able to see the approach to that. The other change they had made was in relation to access. They are proposing sort of an option for the PZB to consider tonight, which would be access off of Green Bay Road. Sorry, we're kind of going all over the place with slides. There we go.
The slides are moving on their own. Sorry, I don't know why they're doing this.
All good.
They're moving on their own.
One of the, by moving the access to Green Bay Road, one of the things we wanted to highlight was this point where the traffic meets. Oops, I'm not sure what's going on with our PowerPoint. There we go. Can we go one more, Shannon? Okay. So if you look to the east, this is somewhat of the traffic flow off of Green Bay Road. It does create a little bit more of a conflict point by moving the access over to Green Bay. Additionally, this number of cars that are able to be stacked drops from 88 to 43. That's 88 cars available to be stacked off of the Crescent Avenue and only 43 off the Green Bay Road. The petitioner has worked with IDOT. After their conversations, they are confident they can get the access permit off of Green Bay Road. That said, it's not a village roadway. We don't grant the access off of Green Bay Road. Just to recap, this parcel is unique in the sense that it is unincorporated right now. It borders both Gurnee and Waukegan. Should the village ultimately deny the petitioner can either petition the city of Waukegan for this development, or they can go through the county to try to get this approved. Should they go through either one of those entities and things fall through with IDOT, with the access off of Green Bay Road, after talking to the community development director, we're under the impression that we cannot deny them access off of Crescent. We have to allow it if it's not developed through the village of Gurnee. So tonight, I've prepared this template motion that was included in your packet. The template motion is written in the affirmative, as are all of our motions. Underneath the motion for a special use permit, you'll note the 3 conditions I've listed there. That includes the single access point to be constructed on Green Bay or Crescent Avenue. That's presented as an option to the PZB. When you make your motion, please only pick one of those roads, as we cannot have access off of both. IDOT will not allow access off of Green Bay if there's also access off of Crescent. So when making your motion, just either on Green Bay Road or Crescent Avenue, not both. Secondly, the 4-foot berm along the western lot line, as we discussed before. Additionally, the 8-foot fence to be constructed on the west and south lot lines. I guess the last thing I would add, the PZB may add any other conditions that they deem fit for this development.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to remind everybody this is a continued public hearing, so anything that was presented at the July 15th meeting is incorporated by reference and doesn't need to be repeated. At this time, I would request anybody from the petitioner or members of the general public who intend to either give testimony or ask questions to please stand and be sworn in by the village attorney.
Please raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to the petitioner, and as always, as you approach for the first time, please state your name and affiliation for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to the board. Alan Jacob on behalf of Car Wash Pro Designers, 4900 River Road, Schiller Park, Illinois. We come back before the board after our July 15th hearing, and we took all of the comments and questions from the board and all of the comments, questions, and suggestions from the public, and we incorporated them into the plan, which resulted in the changes that Jacob briefly mentioned here. We believe that the substantial amount of commentary was about traffic, access, and what would happen to Crescent Road. And based on that, we provide 2 options to the board to consider. We believe either option is viable. However, if the board feels it necessary for it to be Green Bay Road, we're confident that based on our discussions with IDOT, they would approve that permit. So with that, I will turn it over to our team, starting with Mr. Jason Green, to give you the details of those changes.
Jason Green, 2000 Center Drive, Suite 411, Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Thank you for having us again this evening. I'm going to go through the old slides or the previous presentation rather quickly, just so we don't belabor the issue. We can always come back to them if you have more questions or you want more detail. I'll try to focus on the new options or the changes to the presentation.
It's really key to just focus on the changes.
Very good.
Thank you.
These are the elevations and floor plans that are unchanged, the neighborhood, the zoning, sandwiched between the towns. There's the annexation plat. That was a survey. This is the annexation plat. Site plan number 1 that we had presented last time. This time, the driveway is shown off of Green Bay Road. The traffic circulates in a clockwise manner. Pay stations on the south side, enter the car wash, exit, and then go to the vacuums on the north side. Landscape. I will forward to the new option, and then I'll let Paul.
Paul Couture, 505 Swift Road, Lombard. the project landscape architect. The changes we made on the west buffer, the plan was adjusted to conform with the new berm and the fence location. We rearranged the planting so that trees and shrubs are on both sides of the fence now, and the fence being roughly 35 to 40 feet off of the property line. So tree, shrubs, and lawn area. We also adjusted some of the plantings along Green Bay and Crescent to work with the new entry on Green Bay Road. Overall, the plant count actually increased in all the categories slightly. So.
In both options, we did change we added the berm and the fence relocation in both options. But I will focus on the new option. It's the new fence location is shown in green. Moved back significantly on the west side, away from the neighboring properties, inwards towards the interior of the property. And we did that so that we could place the fence on top of the new berm that we've been discussing already. We also changed the type of fence from a 6-foot board-on-board fence to an 8-foot privacy fence, solid fence. These are signage slides from last time. Photometrics is unchanged. We will meet all codes. Noise is unchanged, other than the fact that the berm with the fence on top of it will provide more screening of noise. Soil and Water Conservation District unchanged. IDOT emails unchanged, except for the addition of their acceptance of the, in concept, the right in right out on Green Bay, existing photos of the site. This is a change. The berm on the west side, you could see there's actually a existing small berm there now that's roughly 4 feet tall, and we're adding 4 feet to it. So the net result will be a 8-foot berm. And then the fence is proposed right on the apex of that berm in order to maximize the screenage. There's a little section that we drew from neighboring property looking at that berm with the fence on top, and you can see the eye line of a 6-foot tall person. You can barely see the top of the structure from the neighboring property. KLOA has analyzed this and the previous option and found that both options are viable. KLOA is present to answer questions that may arise. Here are some renderings and animations.
Sean Phillips, also 2000 Center Drive in Hoffman Estates, Suite B 411. I get the fun job. You can go ahead and start the first animation. So we did a few animations. I believe the first one will be the approach view from a car as you enter the property and approach the pay stations, which right after the pay stations you would turn right and swing around into the car wash. That we wanted to note here is in the distance just over the pay station, you see the very tip top of the roof of the house that's in the back there. So the berm and the fence both pretty successfully, block any possibility of headlights or anything being seen over the fence, or from the other side. And it's also good to note that the vegetation shown in this animation would be basically day one vegetation. So this is at its lowest part. As the trees grow, they're going to get bigger and more full. So it's just going to get better from there.
Go to the File Explorer. Go to 3.
So this would be a view from the neighborhood looking towards the car wash. Again, really just seeing the very top of the roof because of the berm and the wall. And this was taken at an elevation of 13 feet from where the house would be, which we figured was roughly about the height of that level of where the windows would be. And then this is just an aerial flyby of the whole site. In this one, the vegetation is shown more at a mature stage, so more the full trees in this view. But you can see the separation of the berm and the wall from the residential properties, and then just all the trees. So, thank you.
Yeah. Utilities would be relatively unchanged from the previous presentation, so I'll skip through these quickly. Sanitary still connecting to the northwest, water still extending the public water main, storm sewer still connecting at the northwest. Treatment unit for water quality, inlet baskets to collect sediment before it enters the sewer system. Erosion control, still, we're going to propose robust erosion control to control any sediment from leaving the site. Circulation plans for both options, the previous option, new option for vehicles, old option and new option for trash pickup. Stacking, previous design with the 88 car stacking with the new layout with the 43 car stacking. Fire truck in the previous option, fire truck in the new option. Fire truck coverage maps virtually the same. That concludes our presentation for this evening. Thank you very much for your consideration, and we look forward to answering questions.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and start. We basically have two issues before us. One is the rezoning, and one is the special use permit. My recollection from last time is that everyone was pretty much in agreement if the village were to annex the property, that a commercial zoning was appropriate. Does everybody still feel that way? Okay. Then on to the special use permit. I've given this a lot of thought. I'm not so sure that the Green Bay access is the wise thing to do. I'm troubled by the crossing of traffic that occurs when you enter the site or leave the site. I'm concerned about the great reduction in the number of spaces for stacking or queuing. I'm also concerned that it's going to be a bigger burden on Crescent because people that are going northbound on Green Bay are going to turn onto Crescent and do a U-turn in the closest driveway they come to, which is not really a satisfactory solution. Dave, do you see anything else that I'm missing here?
Yeah, those are the main points that looking at, I know they haven't, the applicant has some initial comments from the state, from IDOT, concerning the Green Bay access. It is a SRA route, so a strategic regional arterial. IDOT has the ability to restrict access on SRAs, so they could not allow the access. Typical traffic patterns have, if you have an SRA, or a heavier traveled road and a intersecting smaller, lighter traveled road, typically the good traffic patterns is to have the access come off the minor street versus the major street. As we've all seen with the right-in, right-outs, without a barrier median along Green Bay Road, there is opportunity for illegal left turns into and out of the site until those barrier medians are installed along Green Bay. And I checked the state's 5-year plan. There's nothing as far as proposed improvements for IDOT on Green Bay Road other than a light resurfacing north of this site. So Jim mirrored a lot of the concerns that we have from staff. The crossing, if ever the stacking exceeds the 43 spaces, it's going to cross and kind of conflict with cars exiting the site. Has a greater potential of backing up onto Green Bay Road, which is a higher volume, higher speed roadway. I know that Crescent has limited capacity exiting out onto Green Bay Road with only a single traffic lane heading eastbound. And I know that in the morning rush hour and afternoon rush hour, it is maxed out with traffic queuing up to that light. So it is, when I went out there and took a look at it at rush hour a couple weeks ago, it cleared the queue each time, but barely. So it was heavier traffic eastbound. And surprisingly, most of the traffic went straight across Green Bay and traveled east on Crescent farther east. So it was a little bit different traffic pattern than what I expected, but it was heavier than what I expected as well. This would be our first property that would be within the village of Gurnee that actually fronts on Green Bay Road. So we don't have a whole lot of history with Green Bay Road. It's been primarily Waukegan, since we don't have anything that abuts up to it.
And just on the queuing, if traffic were to increase, my understanding is the state continually assesses the load and adjusts the queuing as necessary.
Yeah, so the state has control of the light at Green Bay and Crescent. They could increase the green time east and westbound as traffic continues to increase eastbound and westbound as a balance and a ratio of the traffic on Green Bay Road. So that is within their capacity to reevaluate that. They do reevaluate it occasionally, and we could inquire about them looking at it once this project gets open.
And then back to the plan, I'm impressed by the increase of the berm height and the nature of the fencing that's proposed to be installed. I think it does a good job of protecting the neighborhood. And I'd like to remind everybody that if it's annexed into the village and a special use permit is granted, everything that's been presented here in terms of design standards and landscaping is guaranteed because it will be incorporated in the special use permit. If the petitioner elects to go another route, those things may or may not happen. So we're dealing with certainty with the special use permit in terms of the design elements. Right. Anybody else like to add anything? Edwin?
Yeah, I'm struggling with both plans. Struggling with Green Bay for the same reasons you articulated. Don't like the traffic flow pattern. You're very possibly right about people turning into the neighborhood around, but I also struggle with the access off of Crescent because I was there personally. I didn't make the morning rush hour. I was 9 o'clock, wasn't very busy at all, but 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there was 9 cars lined up at the light, and I think 9 cars back pretty much at the access. Did you see that, Dave?
Yeah, I think the maximum I counted clearing, so I sat across the road and from I think it was the subway parking lot, and counted the number of cars that were able to clear the queue of the signal each time. It was like 12 to 13 cars were able, each time the light turned green, 12 to 13 cars could go through the intersection eastbound.
Right. Yeah, I sat across and watched also for a while. Also, at the subway parking lot, it's very difficult to get out of there, I found out, because at rush hour, everybody backs up past the entrance. So it was difficult. Crescent is far busier than I thought at that time of day. And if you add only 3 cars to it, back past the entrance to the car wash, I would assume. I don't know. How much does a car normally take up, Dave?
18 to 20 feet is typical spacing from bumper to bumper.
That's what I figured. And how far back is this entrance from the intersection? Oh, it's on there. Okay,
I don't,
yeah. Can you read that?
Roughly, I would say approximately 80, hold on metric, hold on.
It's not it.
Roughly 240-ish feet.
Oh, is what they have from the intersection?
That's correct.
Oh, further than I thought. Okay, well, that's my thought.
I think that may be 140 feet.
About 140, sorry, this is me measuring on the fly.
I'm very appreciative of the efforts that the petitioner did to address all concerns that were presented on the last meeting. I fall a little bit differently, perhaps than some of the other commissioners might on this. I tend to lean more toward the Green Bay option because I really am very concerned about Crescent and the impact on Crescent. I mean, I think it's a problem today with an empty lot being here. So I don't know that either of the options is an absolutely perfect scenario, and it's also very difficult to predict. We know what some humans will do, but we're trying to project what might happen, and I tend to want to take the chance with the Green Bay side of it and do more to be cognizant of the neighborhood, and because this is a commercial site and have the function off of Green Bay Road, the commercial corridor. So, I'm very appreciative of what happened with the treatment of the west side of the property and the south side of the property, and I will also just mention to the petitioners, or ask the petitioners, I'm assuming, of course, that you've left yourself easy access to the other side of the fence so that it can be maintained properly, because if I were a neighbor, I would be concerned that the fence would go up and then the west side of the berm would be forgotten. And so I just want to make sure that that's been, I mean, I know it sounds quite obvious, but I'm assuming, of course, that access point has been there and that the property will be maintained all the way.
Nick Spallone, 4900 River Road, Schiller Park. I am the owner of the project. Per the advice of the planning department, both fences are almost 20 or 30 feet, 25 feet away from the property line. So both of them start about 30 feet in. And then we gave a bunch of room on the Green Bay access side, we gave a bunch of room behind the fence. Particularly the neighbors to the west will almost feel like they have an extended backyard because it'll assume that our fence is their property line. But you can fit a machine back there, right along the machine. It's big. A lot of space.
I was assuming there would be no problem with that. I just want it on the record.
Yes, no, we have 30 feet of room. You can put a pickup truck back there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I have the same concerns that Dave has. I do like the Green Bay. I don't like how they crisscross, though. And I do have a question, and maybe it's for the building department. Can we require them to, if we do go with the crescent one, to put a sign up that do not block the intersection or the driveway, so that people can, when they're coming down Crescent, can turn in and not just be backed up? And that's a concern. Is that possible to have that done? If
So
it's,
we would put the sign up on Crescent Avenue if it's in the public right-of-way with limited effectiveness.
oh, okay. Yeah. I do like the berm. I do like the fence. I do like all the other items that they've done to try to address the concerns of the residents. But I think there's going to be a whole lot of problems with turning in off of Crescent, and I would probably lean more toward the Green Bay, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I'm always appreciative when the petitioner does such Herculean work in terms of addressing not only what the board had to suggest, but also from the general public and the residents that were there. So thank you for doing that. I share the concern. I thought initially when we talked about Green Bay Road that it would be an issue if it was right in, right out. I don't think Green Bay is going to allow you full access, obviously, right, in terms of right and left. The crisscrossing might be an issue. And also, so I continue to kind of struggle with the plans. I just have two questions, and that would be, one, what's the difference for me between a board-on-board and then the privacy fence? And then number two, on the berm, is the berm only to the west, or is the berm also on the south sides, and is it the same dimension as the west side?
So the berm is only on the west side.
Okay.
The fence difference between board on board, you'll notice fences that have kind of staggered boards. These are actually panel on panel, so like tongue and groove.
Okay.
So it's literally a privacy fence. If you're standing up to it, you couldn't get to an angle where you could see through the fence.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
The board-on-board fence, the privacy fence, will have better acoustical properties than would be the staggered shadow box fence.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Same concerns as the other commissioners. I do appreciate the changes made, for sure. I think they're very nice, and I think they would benefit the business and benefit the neighborhood. As far as access, I go back and forth. I have the same concern with the U-turn. See it all the time. There are a lot of people making U-turns, making lefts to just turn around and make rights. So I don't know. It's a tough call. Both of them have their good, both of them have their down. Protect the neighborhood. I think I'd lean with Dave on protecting the neighborhood.
Yeah, it seems like neither solution is ideal. I guess I would lean towards the Green Bay access solution. Just a small detailed question. You have a sign plan here that is only showing the crescent. If we were to be favoring the Green Bay access, would that sign plan need to change?
No, the monument will still be in the same spot, and then the building signs will still be on the same spot.
Okay.
Okay. All right, excuse me. At this time, I'm going to open the floor to the public. If anybody has a question, if you could please come to the microphone, state your name, and the procedure is once everybody has asked their questions, I'll close the floor to the public, and then we'll address the questions the best that we can. So, and if you could please queue in line, so, just to help speed things up a little bit. Thank you.
My name is Bill Ham, 3433 Crescent Avenue, 3 doors down from where you're going to want to put this. And everybody in our neighborhood, they pay at least $9,000 in taxes. Would you want that in your neighborhood? So you got to have that. And they're saying 240 feet from the intersection back. If where they, on Crescent, where they would treat that road out, that would be like 100 feet from my house. So that means when the traffic's coming and backing up there, instead of having 12 cars to the corner, it's going to be 20 cars past my house. I was sitting out there last night. There was 8 cars past my house, and I'm the 3rd house. So I don't think you'd want that in your neighborhood. Another thing, Green Bay Road, the left-hand turn, you're going to have accidents there because people are going to try and make left-hand turns. People are going to try and turn into the car wash. They're going to back that lane up. you won't be able to turn. That'll slow that traffic light down a lot. My other thing is, which everybody failed to mention, is that they had a thing out there for a week counting the cars going by and how fast they were going and all that. And I see the city never mentioned it one time. They have a report on that. It was sitting there for a whole week. So you know how many cars are going. So if you do this, you already know it, and you're getting more tax dollars for this too. And the people that are paying taxes are getting screwed. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Penny Shepard. I live at 3410 Grandmore Avenue, and ours is the house that is directly behind the parcel. Our home is a raised ranch, which means that our windows are not at your typical first floor level. They're quite high. We also have a two-tier deck back there that we tend to spend a lot of time on. So the view from a person who is 6 feet tall standing in the yard looking up at the berm onto the fence doesn't really apply to what we're going to do unless I'm in the yard working, which I do quite a lot. We do spend a lot of time on our back deck, which looks down onto the property now. And with the berm and the fence, that's great. I still think it's going to be an issue for our line of sight and also from the business, the line of sight to us. I also have some points here too about rezoning a single residential lot for high impact commercial business benefits, one developer while potentially harming the surrounding community. I think that this project violates our village's comprehensive master plan, which is legally designed to protect and preserve residential areas from commercial intrusion. I think that this could set a potentially dangerous precedent if allowing this access off of Crescent. It might make it easier for other commercial businesses down the road to do the same thing. There's also no public necessity for this type of business. As it's been stated, there are already 5 commercial car washes within a mile and a half with 2 hand detail shops. It's incompatible use. A car wash is an intensive, high disruption business use, heavy traffic, loud noise, chemical runoff. It's just incompatible with adjacent homes. I do have some questions about the what the gentleman said earlier. Paul, the landscape architect, had mentioned that there was a slight increase to the number of plants, and I wonder which plants are going to be increased. And also they talked about the size of the trees going in and showed on the display the size of the trees as they would be planted, and then later in a different slide, these were much more mature trees. Just so that the board knows, I am a certified master gardener with the U of I extension for Lake and McHenry County, so I have a good idea about how trees and shrubbery grow annually. So I just wonder also about the noise coming from the car wash with the berm and the landscaping and the fence. How many decibels is acceptable for the property to come into a residential? And I wonder how the decibels will be affected for the abutting neighbors, if there's going to be a significant amount. I also was wondering if there's been any analysis on how rainwater will be affected and its flow from this berm. Like, is our backyard going to be constantly underwater, or any other neighbors when it rains or when the snow melts? Yeah, those are my major concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Crimson Grove Avenue.
Excuse me, You need to get closer to the microphone, we can't hear you.
Oh, sure. My name is Gail Grimtick. I live on Grove Avenue. Excuse me. I think the main problem or question that I have is going back to the access. I know that I live on Grove, it's 2 streets over. We really needed help anyway, long-term, for getting traffic in and out of that small neighborhood. Please consider, seriously consider, not granting access off of Crescent, because we already go down to Crescent to get out of the neighborhood with the light as it is. To put more traffic into that area. We live there. It's not just a matter of how we're going to make income. So thank you for considering us. I do want to say I've listened to you guys, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paul Jean L'Esperance. I live at 3448 Crescent Avenue in Gurnee, very close to the location of the vacant lot proposed car wash. I'm still going to voice my opposition to this. I think it's a terrible plan because of traffic. I live on that street. There is no traffic enforcement by the village of Gurnee whatsoever, except for a sign where it says 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and people coming westbound across my side of Crescent, they like to use it as a challenge to see how high they can get their speed. Also, I still do not see any plans of widening the corner of Crescent and Green Bay, which is still going to tie up traffic. It's going to increase traffic coming from Belle Plaine to eastbound to Green Bay. And also, you're going to also have an increase of accidents right at that intersection. Also, finally, the location. It is terrible. We have, again, 5 car washes in the general vicinity. There's another one going to be, but there's a gas station that's going to be over at Milwaukee and Grand. They're working on expanding. They have a car wash. Further down the road, past Gurnee Mills, there's a huge empty lot right next to the Blind and Beef. Why isn't anybody explored that location? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tony Shepard. I live at 3410 Grandmore Avenue. I've been in opposition to this car wash since day one, as it is my house that backs up to it, but it is also my community that I live in. We've been told to ask our questions to you, and you would present them to the petitioner, yet none of our questions are being asked. I brought up the point of hours of operation that was asked last time. The application is different than what they said. Nobody's asked him what the hours of operation are going to be. The application says 6 a.m. He replied 8 a.m. in the meeting. The other thing is you've talked about a 4-foot berm, and you're going to hold them to these drawings. This drawing says 9'7". So not 4 plus 4, 4 plus 5'7" with the 8-foot fence on top. We talked about the hours, you know, keeping it off of Crescent is a huge win for this community. We can't worry about if people are going to turn U-turns because we've done nothing about the people doing U-turns at Grand and 41. You're never going to stop that, no matter if it's a business or just getting through an intersection faster. Crescent and Boulevard View are, Belle Plaine, sorry, I'm old, are not built for the cut-through traffic. And you said every light, every car made it through when you sat there. Nobody must have been turning left, because I've sat through that light 2 times. 2 cycles if somebody's trying to turn left because there's no turn lane. I would just ask, I want to close by stating that when we email the board our questions, it's in hope that they'll be addressed and they'll be respected. I appreciate the petitioner putting in the effort to make the change. He heard the community say we don't want Crescent. And then we come back today, and some people on board are saying, I'd like to go back to Crescent. When they don't live on Crescent, they don't see the traffic, they don't see the bike path, they don't see the families walking. I am more disappointed in the process than I am with anything else. I am very thankful that the petitioner is hearing our voices and addressing some of them, but if you're gonna hold them to what's in the plans, it's 9'7" with an 8-foot fence on top.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's, excuse me. My name's Joe Bragg. I live at 3457 Crescent Avenue. So I live about 5-6 houses to the west of the property that's being under consideration. The traffic measuring device that had been attached to a tree on Crescent Avenue has been referenced. Is there a place we can access the results of the study and the analysis that was done on it? That's my first question. I'm sorry? My next question, if and perhaps this is the wrong venue in which to ask it, but I'll put it forward anyway. If the village does pursue approving the rezoning and special permit applications, then advancing the annexation cost question to the village, what are the costs and process associated with annexation, and who's going to bear the cost of that? Next question is has anyone on the zoning board examined the performance of other properties owned by the petitioner as far as how well they have performed to permits in those other locations, the conditions of those properties, if they are observing the posted hours of operation that they said they would adhere to? I did want to go back to the question I posed before. As far as monitoring of wastewater that's produced by this, as well as water consumption and other related issues, will there be an active monitoring process, or will this just consist of spot inspections of a monitor that's attached to the sewer or water lines or something like that? Meaning if there was any sort of violation, would the village be in a position to quickly react to that and have it corrected, or would it wait for months until a meter showed something, somebody read a meter, a decision was made, and then some sort of paperwork was put through? If you could also, and I apologize for this if I misunderstood, I just wanted to get a clarification of the situation under which access to Green Bay Road might actually be denied, and some sort of access upon Crescent Avenue would be forced upon the neighborhood. I can't remember if that was because if you declined to approve this, and if it turned into a situation where Waukegan annexed, or if it would be if IDOT changed their mind or found some reason that they decided that access upon Green Bay Road was no longer desirable or feasible, thereby creating a situation in which access upon Crescent would be the option that would be next in line. So if we could just get a clarification of that. Those are my questions. Generally, I understand the situation as far as the options that the petitioner has to approach another governing body if they do not get the satisfaction they want here. So we're being given something of a devil's bargain. That's the main problem that I have with this situation. It seems like we're given an option that's going to be uncomfortable regardless of what we do. But however, it's upon your decision as whether you're going to approve these permits and rezoning requests regardless. So the only other question I have would be if the village of Gurnee, having jurisdiction over the residential area in that particular parcel, would have any remedy to prevent either Waukegan or unincorporated Lake County from taking an action that the village itself thought was not in the interests of its residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to close the floor to the public. There's a question about cost of annexation and who pays for that. I mean, the village does not assess a real estate tax on residential property or any commercial property at all. There's no there's no property tax associated with the Village of Gurnee on your tax bill, so the cost of the annexation would be absorbed by the village's normal operating budgets.
There is a fee that the petitioner has to pay in order to cover the legal costs of the annexation process.
Okay. There were a couple questions about some apparent traffic count study that was going on.
I did ask our traffic engineer or our village engineer to put out the village's traffic counters. He did put them out. I've not gotten the report back from him yet. It will be available for anybody who wants access to it. We did do one out there a few years ago, and we wanted to compare what traffic was a few years ago versus what it was currently, and I do not have the results of that study yet.
Okay. Comprehensive plan issues, as we discussed at the last meeting, this particular parcel was not envisioned at all as part of the comprehensive plan. Want to add to that, Jake?
Yeah, I would just add that it's not in our comprehensive plan. Over on the Waukegan side, I just wanted to note that I looked at their zoning map. To the north of this property on the Waukegan side is a B3, and we don't have necessarily comparable zoning districts, but it's a B3 general commercial district, and that's the same zoning classification as what is to the east on Green Bay Road. The B3 district is the only one in the city of Waukegan that allows a car wash with a conditional use permit. I'm assuming that's comparable to our special use permit.
Okay. Hours of operation? Can you please confirm that?
So I'm not exactly sure what was written in the application, but I will tell you that our stores all share the same hours. And in the summertime, it is 8 to 8. And in the wintertime, it is 7 to 6. On Sundays, it is 9 to 5.
And as long as you're there, what is the actual height of the berm? Is it 8 feet or is it 9 feet 7 inches?
Total height is 9'7". If you measure it from the bottom of the existing berm to the top of the proposed berm, it varies depending on where you're measuring it, but it's the maximum height at the apex is 9'7".
Is the minimum 8?
The minimum is 8, yes.
Okay. All right, thank
So
you.
we would match the 8 minimum, and the maximum would be 9'7".
And as long as we're talking about the berm, do we have a graphic that shows what the line of sight would be for the Shepherd's property?
From the second animation?
That was taken from a height of 13 feet.
Would it be from the Shepherd's property? That'd be coming in from Green Bay Road, correct?
No, there's an actual, there's one from their property.
Right, looking east.
Toward us.
Number 2, right, Sean?
This is the second animation.
No, not this one.
Oh.
So this is taking from 13 feet above ground level. This is what this panoramic view is, 13 feet above ground level. Is that correct? Camera height?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. There's a question about sound levels. There was information in the packet, Jake.
So we did submit a sound study, and the sound study did not include a, let's say, 20-something foot high barrier between the berm and the fence. And there was very little sound that leaked our property. The ambient sound from the road on Green Bay was louder than what our building let off. And the last time we were in a hearing, someone added the 2 decibels together, and that's just not how it works. If there's a room full of people that are talking at this level, and then somebody is whispering, the whisper doesn't add to the volume of the room, it actually gets washed out.
There was a question about stormwater management.
I'll defer to David on that one.
So there's, the village's requirement is the same as Lake County's requirement. Any parking lots that are constructed with, I think it's more than 20 parking spots, which this one would qualify, have to have a oil-water separator that it's a mechanical device, uses vortices and screens to filter out sediment and to filter out oils from the runoff. So it's would have to be on a maintenance schedule. We would monitor that and make sure that the maintenance, that it's being cleaned on a regular basis, and that if it is maxed out, we would increase that frequency.
And there was a question about monitoring the wastewater. I recall from the previous meeting, testimony was that it's all organic materials.
On the physical wash side, sanitary side is with a different version of triple basin. So that handles all the domestic water line. The one that they're referred to is the storm.
But there were two questions.
Yeah, both will have their own systems that will treat the water for solids and oils before they go introduce into the mains.
All right. And who wants to tackle the IDOT question and how they make their decisions?
I'll take that one again. So IDOT has jurisdiction over Green Bay Road. It is completely under IDOT's purview to grant access permits to this site or to any site along any IDOT highway. Strategic regional arterials have a higher threshold classification for access points. So it is under IDOT's jurisdiction to say yes or no. If it is the only frontage that the property has, IDOT has to grant an access. If there is an option for a side street, a local street, another option, they may deny the access onto Green Bay and mandate the option on the side street. Similar, if we would happen to deny this petition and it goes to the city of Waukegan, we cannot deny access on Green Bay or on Crescent Avenue if IDOT denies it on Green Bay. So we may not have, I'll restate that. So if
well, we wouldn't border.
Under either scenario, if IDOT does not allow access on Green Bay Road, then we would have to allow access on Crescent. Their indication with the IDOT engineers up to this point is that IDOT is going to allow that. So that is counter to my initial thoughts, but it would, if IDOT denies it, we have to allow it.
And they have, there's no appeal process or anything, right?
That is, no, we have to allow a curb cut we cannot landlock a property and deny it access.
Okay.
I do have a question for the board or for David. Would the village issue a building permit without IDOT permit?
Would the village issue a building permit without an IDOT permit?
Yes.
We would want to know what the access is prior to issuing the building permit.
Okay.
So we need to have final correspondence that IDOT is going to be issuing that access permit prior to us commissioning work on site.
Okay.
So that needs to be finalized.
So the access point is a critical part of the building permit process?
That question has to be answered before we would allow construction on site.
Okay. And then there was one other question about the intersection. Is there any possibility of that intersection being widened to have a through lane and a left-hand turn lane?
And that's why I checked the 5-year plan for IDOT on Green Bay Road to see if there was anything in the hopper for them, and there's nothing in their 5-year plan for widening or doing any work or rebuilding Green Bay Road at this point. So that would be the opportunity to do that. Widening Crescent. The problem is, and the throat for the access for for Crescent is actually in the city of Waukegan. So the way annexations work, when we annex property, we get the entire right-of-way all the way across. So when Waukegan annexed the north side of the Crescent Green Bay intersection, they annexed the entire Crescent right-of-way all the way across. So you can see here the brown area. They have the last 120, 150 feet of Crescent as it approaches Green Bay. The pink area is the village of Gurnee. So the village, when we annexed the 2 residential properties on the north side of Crescent, we took in the entire Crescent Avenue right-of-way for the western 60% of the site. So the entire intersection, all of the roadway pavement is all in the city of Waukegan. It's not in the village of Gurnee. So we really don't have a whole lot of control as far as the widening of the Crescent at that intersection throat.
So if we were to, theoretically, if we were to annex the property,
Would have no effect on the previously annexed portions of Crescent.
Waukegan would still have the right-of-way?
Whoever got there first gets the right-of-way. So Waukegan will maintain that eastern 40%, and Gurnee will maintain that western 60%.
Okay, pardon me for being confused on this a little bit.
It's, yes.
But last time we discussed what happens with snow plowing if we annex. Is that a different animal?
And I don't know with our public works what our, a lot of times we will trade, do a horse trading with other entities where it makes sense for us to complete the end of the block. Technically we have the 60%, Waukegan has the 40%. I don't know what our public works has worked out with the city of Waukegan, whether we plow the entire block or if Waukegan plows that block.
Okay. All right, thank you. And has staff done any surveillance of their existing operation?
No, we have not.
All right, let's go back to the members of the Planning and Zoning Board. Dave?
Well, as I mentioned before, taking everything into account that's been presented to us, including the testimony, my support would fall behind the Green Bay Road option.
Everyone?
I just want to clarify, so if we went with the plan with access off of Green Bay and IDOT failed to grant permission, do they automatically get to do it off of Crescent, or can we stop it because of the building permit?
It would be in conflict with the special use permit, so we would have to come back here and do a major amendment to the special use permit, which would be the exact same process as we're going through tonight.
Which, at that point, we could stop it.
At that point, we will already have annexed the property, zoned it commercial. It would just be the special use permit, which would be ineffective.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so, and we may not have purview over this, but looking at the north, what would be that? That's the southeast corner where the plaza is, which is in Waukegan's jurisdiction. They do have right in, right out on Green Bay Road, as well as a ingress and egress off of Crescent.
Correct.
Actually, two. And if that were the case, let's say this went to Waukegan, again, you may not know the answer. Would that be what they would possibly be allowed to do?
IDOT has indicated that they would only allow a right in, right out on Green Bay if there was no access on Crescent.
Okay, thank you.
So we most likely would not get both. The project on the other side of Green Bay Road most likely was constructed and built prior to the SRA designation or prior, I can't, it would only be a guess as to how it got built with both.
Thank you very much.
And there was one, I did have a couple other items that, needed to be addressed from my notes. Let's see, remedy against Waukegan. If the project was denied here and the application was forwarded to Waukegan, the village could participate in Waukegan's conditional access process and rezoning process, and we would basically be a attendant at their hearing, just like, you know, the residents are here tonight. We would not have any legal remedy against them if they approved something that we denied. It is under their sole discretion to approve those. And then the other one, there was a comment about an increase in plant quantity and size that was alluded to in the presentation.
With the new layout, we added 17 shrubs, 1 tree, and 4 perennials, so there's no reduction in plants at all. The sizes of tree caliper on the shade trees are 3-inch caliper. Depending on the shade tree, can be anywhere from 10 to 15 feet. Most villages require a 2 to 2.5 inch caliper, so we're larger size. Not sure where came up with it.
I mean, sir, the floor is closed to the public. We're not supposed to.
You want facts, right?
I do want facts, but I want to follow the process. So please go, I'll open the floor to the public again, so you can state your question, and then I'll close the floor to the public. But I can't allow just random conversation.
Tony Shepard from 3410 Granmore Avenue. Just pointing out that on their landscaping project, they have now changed the height of certain amount of them to 10 to 24 feet. It's on.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Right there. Right there. I know it's real fine, but I got out a magnifying glass. I'm looked at it for you. Which you guys, I'm okay, right? 8 to 10 feet?
No.
That's what we're good, because it was 3 to 6 feet. It's right here. We can open it up.
No, I understand. I've got
So-
my plan
So,
too.
so they're taller is what you're saying? Okay, thank you.
The,
All right.
again, we have an increase in plants. All the
Okay.
plant sizes that we show from the previous are the exact same size.
Okay, and whatever's in the most recent plan that was submitted to us will be incorporated into the special use permit in the event that we get to a special use permit situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the only other comment that was made was, you know, the necessity with, you know, several other car washes being in town or in the area. You know, the village does not limit the number of any type of stores or any retailers in town. It's a market-driven process. So if the petitioner wants to invest money to build a car wash in a market that's already flush with car washes, that's kind of up to them. It's competition in its truest sense.
I will add that we are the only between us and Schiller Park and us and Algonquin and us in West Chicago, meaning us, this property, is the only express touchless, period. So there is no competition for that. We are the only express touchless.
Thank you. And just as a matter of procedure, the floor is closed to the public. Right, Kathy, any other comments?
No, nothing to add.
Okay,
No more comments.
okay. All right, the first motion we need to deal with is a motion to do a rezoning map amendment. As everybody recalls, we don't get a vote on annexation. We are just recommending a zoning classification in the event that the village decides to annex the property. So a motion in the form of a recommendation of the village board to rezone the property would be in order.
Motion to favor a favorable recommendation on the petition of 35400 North Green Bay LLC for a zoning map amendment to rezone 2.47 plus or minus acres from an unincorporated Lake County zoning designation of R1 residential to the Village of Gurnee's zoning designation of C2, Community Commercial District, located at 35400 North Green Bay Road.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Blair.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Nordentoff.
Aye.
Half.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Sula.
Aye, motion carries. Now, for the special use permit, as Jake indicated before, whoever makes the motion needs to pick either Green Bay or Crescent. Not an easy decision. So, and discussion that we've had, the village board will have plenty of insight in terms of all the pluses and minuses that we discussed. So, who's willing to craft the motion?
I can. Motion to forward a favorable recommendation on the petition of 35400 North Green Bay Road, LCC, for a special use permit to allow a car wash within the C2 Community Commercial District located at 35400 North Green Bay Road, with the following conditions. The single access point be constructed on Green Bay Road, that a 4-foot berm be developed along the west lot line, and an 8-foot fence be constructed along the west and south lot lines.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nordentoff. Could we
Point
just
of
add to
order.
those conditions and other deviations as presented in the detailed plans? Because it's not exactly 8 feet.
Right. Do I need to add that or just?
Yes, please.
And other conditions as noted in the presentation.
Right.
You may want to amend that motion to a minimum 8-foot tall berm, since that was their specific testimony and it's counter to what was read in.
And that the fence be a minimum of 8 foot.
The berm be a
The berm fence, okay, the berm fence be constructed along the west side, 8 feet minimum.
Second.
Second as amended? Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Blair.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Nordentoff.
Aye.
Paff.
Aye.
Morgan.
No.
Stevens.
Aye.
Sula.
Aye, motion carries. Just so everybody knows, we are a recommending body to the village board for both of the motions that we made. So the village board will make the final decision on the rezoning and the special use permit, including the access. You know when the board's going to hear that?
Yes, we're currently looking at September 28th. They will hear both of these items along with the actual annexation. We need time for the annexation public notice to go out to the other taxing bodies, so that's why it will be the 28th. So that'll be out shortly, but that is our date for this item.
Thank you. Next meeting on the calendar is scheduled for September 2nd. Do we have anything?
We won't have anything for the second. The next time we'll meet will be September 16th, where we do have a public hearing scheduled.
We do, okay. All right, next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. This is an opportunity for public comment for planning and zoning issues, but not for things that were on the agenda this evening. I'll close the floor to the public. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.